Alright, we're back. Just went up and grabbed one here. So this one here, if you look at it, there's a marking on it somewhere. There it is. Etched in there, high. So this is their name. And if you notice, it's the correct direction when you have your name in there. But you would not know that for sure unless you double checked it. So the name is for high gear. Be better to put high on there like this, so you know for sure which way it goes. So if you're not sure next time, counterclockwise is the direction this rotates under load. So leading edge is on the counterclockwise side. Don't forget that. Now when you go to put it in the tranny, make sure you put it in correctly. So where's our mark again? There's our mark toward high, which is over on this side. Like that. Well, you don't screw that up, you'll be fine. Famous last words. It does not want to slide on it very well. There it goes. Okay. So let's move the camera over here further, closer. Hard to get in here. Trying to get it where you can see. Okay, so we got our washer in there. So we got to rotate the washer until it goes on the spline, so it slides over. Then you got your snap ring in here, which is buried. There it is. We have to get that up and over the edge. So we have to use a screwdriver to do that. Get our grease out of the way so we don't bump into it. So you got to find this part that's opened up. Okay, there's the part that's opened. So you get it started over the ramp there and just keep it going around. So you rotate around one at a time. Get this underneath it, lift up and over. And make sure that one stays over there. Do not try to bend it so much that you flex the snap ring so it's not flat when it's in rested condition. Okay, got the next one on. Just keep rotating over. This must be the last of it. This one's hooked in hard over here. There it goes. Here it popped over the edge there. Always keep tension on that because the other one's probably back off its edge on there, I bet. And looks like there's still a little bit more to go. There we go. Okay, now it's on there. So you see the snap ring sitting right there. It's on there. It's twisted right now, it's not bent that way, it's just twisted that way. There you go. Take the load off it, see how it straightens out. Okay, now once you get to this point here, you take your shift clutch, or dog, whatever you want to call it, put it on the spline, and just slide it over. And it'll pop in the snap ring. Now you got to make sure your 1-2 gear cluster, which is this one, is over enough that you can slide the gear past where the snap ring goes. See, there's a snap ring there, and pop it right in. If this gear doesn't want to move over, then you have to rotate this dog until it goes into gear, and so it'll slide over enough to pop it. You want to make sure the snap ring actually is inside the groove it belongs. Usually you can hear it go pop. And now it's in there. And you want to take a screwdriver and make sure that you are in there correctly. Go back and forth, make sure it's in the groove like it's supposed to. And it is. Now if you bent the snap ring when you put it in, you don't want to pop out on you, which you don't want it to do. You want it to stay nice and firmly in the groove. And you see how it's in the groove. There's the overlap right across. It's right there across the spline, which is good. So that means it's got full contact. It's good. So it's in there. Now the third gear goes all the way against that like that. And you shove your plus this gear all the way over like that. And it goes right up into that. And that gives you your in play right there. This dog goes back and forth here. And obviously the whole shaft goes over further that way. So this goes over further in now at this point. We're going to go through those seals right now, so I got to push the main shaft a little bit harder. We're going through 2 seals right now, so there it goes. Get past that seal, it slides a little easier, see? Now what I do is I put the dog on top of the gear so it can't engage into it. And you go all the way over on this one, you make sure you do the same thing. And you push it all the way over and it's dead stop. So we're on this gear here, and we're on this gear here, dog to dog. So that way it can't go any deeper. Now we can pound this bearing on without the shaft going that way deeper. And at the end of the spline goes and hits the bushing, it spreads the bushing out and screws up the bushing. Which you don't want it to do. But you do have to pound this gear on, or this bearing right here has to be pushed on. Now this one's a single shielded bearing, so you can either run this toward the gear set or toward the shifter, the kicker side. Which one do you think will have less grit in it? The gear set or the kicker mechanism? Well, in the real world, the kicker mechanism probably makes more grit. Plus, when the throwout bearings fail, you don't want that getting in here, and this will stop it from going in. The gear teeth, if they're bad, we don't care if this is bad. Gonna take it out. So this just slides up onto here. Put the camera down, you see better. Drop it way down. There you go. So this just goes here on top of the shaft, shoves it in. Make sure you put your race in there though. So sometimes you just slip in just perfect, other times you got to beat them in. Usually you have to beat them in and they fall out, because there's basically like 1 thou clearance. So you pretty much just stick on the table here and just tap them in a little bit with a hammer. If you use a steel hammer like this, just hit on the outside edge only. Works its way down a little bit at a time. If you put the bearing press, you can just push it on the outside and straight down. Once it goes square, it probably just falls. If you use a plastic hammer like this, you can beat on the center of it a little bit. But if you're going to use steel, don't hit the center. Hit on the outside edge. So the hammer, instead of hitting flat, you lean it like that or like that, depending on which side you're on. Get a different noise, because it's all the way down. Make sure the bearing rotates, which it does. We're good. Now when you beat this onto here, it'll probably want to fall off, but it's easy how it works. So I'm going to get started on the bearing there. Now if you have something you can lay the case on over here, like a big tube, you can lay this onto a tube. You can beat on it straight down from the top, which works a lot easier. If you don't have any of that, you got to kind of hold the tranny with your body here and beat on it with a punching hammer over here. So most people don't have a big tube to use. I think I've got one over here. Cylinders will work all right, they're no good because they're going to break them if you beat on them too hard. See, I got this tube right here, which will probably work just fine. But hammer to punch works too. We are into abuse around here if you want to beat on it. Okay, first thing I do is get the thing started. the main shaft inside of it. And now that everything's in there at once. Go like that. As long as you stay inside the case, you don't hit the edge of the case. It's kind of far away, it's hard to see, I guess, way over there, but see, as long as you stay inside the case when you're beating on it, you don't come out. And you're hitting it flat, it goes in. I'm actually sliding on the bushing on the main shaft slightly. You gotta make sure this is smooth when you're doing that. You go around like that. Now, I'll also use a punch. You can use a brass punch like that, doesn't really damage anything. Or you can use a steel punch to stay on the outside edge. So if you can do that, you put this against your body over here to hold it. Remember, you're hitting on the main shaft and the OD at the same time, so you can do outside, outside, inside, inside. Rotate, make sure it's not bound up. When you get close to the edge in here, make sure you don't break the teeth off. They are heat treated, they will break. Even a brass punch will do it. So don't put it against the shaft anymore. Move it out a little bit so you're not hitting right on the gear tooth. So let's say the tooth is right here. You don't want to be hitting on that. You want to be outside enough you can clear it. So you have to move it out a little bit. And the only reason the main shaft's not going in too deep is because I have these dogs over here adjusted so they can't go through. So now when you get in there further, you're going to have to probably line it up better. So right now it's still sliding. Actually on this one it actually slid on me. The gear moved so now it actually engages in that gear. But it's going in, it's not going in too deep. If this shaft was in a lot deeper than this, you would know there's a problem. Right now they're going equal, so we're good. So just about all the way in. That's in. Seems to be in. See, it's not because the gear is loose over here. So I know the shaft needs to go that way further. So the way you do that, you come back over here and beat it in that way. You hold your high gear, but in our case you don't have to because it's being held by the case. The problem is you knock it out on the other side. It's a lot tighter now. So we beat it back out over here, see? So I'm going to push it back in. But now this here is not loose on the shaft like it was. It's still got a little clearance, but it's pretty close. So make sure that's not going to hit on anything. So far, no damage. So now instead of hitting on the outside, I'm only going to hit on the inside because I want to get it over the shaft. And if we can lock the gear up over here, it would help us slightly. But not really. Quick, good wraps is what you want to do. Sound like it was all the way down that time. She's moved out a little bit. We're all right. Okay, that's close enough. The nut will pull it in the rest of the way. See, we gained some clearance in here again. So this is all in here where it belongs. There's no binding anywhere, so that's good. Make sure you don't have a problem over there. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and put our nut on here. Our lock, like this. And we can tighten it up. Now what I like to do before I do that, I bend the ears up a little bit so you can get in there without buckling your dust plate. If you beat this plate, the dust shield in, it'll catch on that cage in there, and then it will be a problem. Then the roller doesn't want to roll correctly, and that causes the roller to prematurely fail, which you don't want to do. So you can see how that's bent up just a little bit on the edge. We're going to do the same thing on these ones because I don't know which one we're going to use. So you want to bend these up just a little bit. Now the socket's going to want to push them back down again, but at least we're trying. Okay, put that on there. Then that goes in with this thin part out. Flat side is in. This one's a standard thread. Make sure the lock tab's where it belongs. And there we go. So recall it's 1 3/8, which is not this one. That is this one. There it is. Now, normally I have the counter shaft in there, I tighten everything together. So right now I'm just going to give an initial hit with a zip gun. Pull it in, whatever it'll pull right now. I don't like putting my hands in here holding this inside here because your fingers can get wrapped around in there and take the fingers right off your hand. I'm kind of partial on my fingers, I like them, so I don't want to do that. I have done that in the past though, but it tries to bite you. Believe me, I've had that issue. That didn't work. Okay. Okay, the gear's not loose anymore in the shaft, so it pulled in. It's not full torque, but it's pulled in. Okay, it's good enough for what we need for now. The parts out there. So now this gear here is tight. That's there. Make sure your shift dog goes all the way that way. Goes all the way that way. It's got a gap in between here in the middle, which it does. So everything's good. You can check your third gear in play. It has a little bit, not much, side to side. There's a rocking and there's a side play. So the side play is one you got to make sure you're not there. The rocking is how loose the bushing is on the shaft. So, all right, that's pretty good. All right, now there's a retainer that holds this all in, which is this one. But I like tightening that up before I put all this in. Okay, so for now the main shaft group is in there adequately. Now we can put our counter shaft in here. All right, let me clean this up a little bit. We'll be back.